So Svein-Egil, we're here today to talk about DECT NR Plus and Nordic becoming a full member of the DECT Forum. But I want to start, how did this all start? It started in your organization, right?
You know, I got a call one day and they're saying, hey, we're working on this new standard. It's called DECT 2020. And I said, DECT? What is this all about, right? Are we going to do phones? Because you all remember these old phones that were on DECT. Turns out that the initiative they were looking at was making a standard for IoT. A standard that would, have, I think, 3 really good things with it. Number one, it's a standard for IoT that will provide long range, high data rate, and in a licensed spectrum or a spectrum license to DECT. So that's, in a way, if you want to make an IoT standard, that felt that's like the holy grail of what we want to do. So from there on, we got engaged. We thought there was a big opportunity. And as we do in Nordic, we like to invest early. We like to be part of the initiative early. And we are like allocated engineers start working on it. And then the ball started rolling. And then we came to you, Kjetil, and we said, we're working on this thing. What do you think about it? And you came on board. And what did you see?
No, I immediately latched on to this. It's very unique. Been working in this industry for so long, and it's very unique that you actually have frequency band that opens up for our type of applications, right? So that was my immediate trigger. This is something, right? This has a chance. There's always these new standards coming, but when you come with actually an allocated globally licensed band and frequency band, it's just perfect, right? So being in the driver's seat and solving some of the problems that we see in IoT today in terms of massive deployment, massive networks, conjunction in the 2.4 gigahertz space. We actually have a frequency band and a standard where we can actually deploy it. So taking some of the best from the cellular world and putting it more into the context of Nordic and our type of low power sensor devices, right? So it had kind of all of the prospects that we need for something that has the chance of succeeding. And obviously defining products and working with partners and working with customers to figure out how would this look, how would it feel, what do we need to do. Had everything that I like with defining products and looking forward into the future. But yeah, you talked about investing early, etc. So now we're stepping up our investment, right? We're going into the forum. Why is that important for Nordic? Why do we need this standard to succeed?
Well, if you're investing, we want to make sure that the standard becomes a standard that is globally accepted. It becomes a robust standard, a standard with enough participants to contribute, and a standard that the customers can trust will be there tomorrow and the day after and 10 years from now. We've done that many times with other standards. The biggest investment in standards we've done was, of course, in the Bluetooth SIG, where we were instrumental in defining Bluetooth Low Energy. But we're also part of making standards succeed. We believe in open standards as a way of the thing that makes the market big enough. So in stepping up the investment is a natural thing for us. And also, I think, of course, it's certainly triggered by some of the interest we're seeing from customers.
Yeah, and some of those customers, right, they are already out there trying to deploy various wireless technologies, whether it's smart city or metering or utilities or factory automation. But they all run in various type of problems, right? So working with these customers, understanding those problems, what happens in a very dense area where you have millions of million nodes in a very dense space? How do you best utilize the frequency band to solve some of those congestions? What do you do about devices that moves around? How do you make all this work, right? And also, how do you make it scalable? You talked about range, right? So when you want to deploy something across a city or across a factory, the cost of installation and the cost of actually owning that infrastructure, how many nodes do you need? So this idea of having a autonomous, self-forming, self-healing type of mesh that has this ultra-reliable communication in the bottom, extremely low latency, high density, it solves a lot of those problems we see with some of the other standards out there today. And it's something that customer needs. I mean, they can take full ownership of the network and full ownership of the deployment. DECT NR Plus is now part of the ITU 5G standard as the only non-cellular standard. So it's about deploying those private networks where you have full control of the network and the devices that sit on those networks. So that's exciting. It comes also as a standard for cordless phone. You mentioned that, right? So there's a lot of legacy audio type of product that that also will benefit from this enhancement. So there's kind of a side story here where if you need just reliable, ultra low latency, long range communication, again with this frequency band, you can do that in things like professional audio and some of those type of equipment.
So what you're saying, Kjetil, is that you're almost saying that this is too good to be true. But that is exactly what I think too. I mean, in some way that, I mentioned the three things that I love the most, the spectrum, the data rate and the range. Of course, we always at Nordic, we trade data rates for power consumption, for instance. We do all those kind of tricks. And it is sophisticated modulation techniques. It is a really, really special technology, I think.
Yeah. And it builds upon those cellular things, right? So cellular is now deployed in billions and billions of devices. So that part of the technology is proven. So folding that back into this standard again to write and develop this new standard, yeah, I think it's a winning combination. Yeah. But it has to be proven, right? So we're very enthusiastic. We are engaging with customers, but there are 0 products in the market today using NR+, and obviously we're working towards that. So when do you expect we can see something here, Svein-Egil?
I think people will be very excited when they start to try this out. But from Nordic perspective, as you said, Kjetil, a lot of this comes from cellular technology as well, the baseline technology. And of course, we're leveraging all the investments we've done in the cellular IoT in the last 5 and 6 years to build NR+ devices. So hopefully by next fall, we will have customers designing products and trying out these things, seeing how well it works in their application.
Yeah. And one of the things we did to kind of accelerate this adoption was working with a partner company called Wirepass out of Finland, right? So we know obviously the cellular technologies, we know the radios, etc., and they bring in expertise and know-how in how do you deploy massive mesh opportunities. So being a company focusing on mesh. And it's like what you said, I mean, for a standard to succeed, there needs to be more players, there needs to be more momentum. It couldn't be Nordic only. So partnering with something that complements the Nordic expertise was very fruitful. And just going to market and talking to customers and having kind of more angles to look at it, and obviously welcoming other people to join the DECT Forum and drive this standard forward. That's what we want to do.
I think that Wirepass brings some unique capabilities to the table. We know Wirepass for very many years. They're really, really good at what they do. Right? And we work with them in Bluetooth Low Energy. We're working with them in NR+. We know how good they are. And it really accelerates the whole development, I think.
Yeah.
So, of course, we're excited about the technology, Kjetil. We think this can do great things, but I think one of the things that people are curious about is what kind of applications would this be most applicable for initially?
Yeah, so I mentioned smart city, and I can be a little bit more specific in street lighting. I think street lighting is something that can benefit massively from DECT NR+. We have opportunities within utility metering, whether it's electricity, water, or gas. We see various tracking applications, container ships, those type of applications. And again, there's a side spiel here around professional audio, where we actually also have early customer engagement and interest, right? So it's actually quite varied. It's more in terms of the industrial business-to-business type of applications and not so much consumer. But who knows? We see applications out there that requires a little bit longer range around home and new ecosystem. And I wouldn't foresee or I wouldn't exclude a future where DECT NR+ is actually the foundation for other type of technologies as well. I think that's very, very promising. So DECT NR+ defines up to a certain standard. You can run a lot of that on top of it. So very excited to see what we can do within the DECT Forum to drive a bigger ecosystem around NR+ going forward as well.
I think one of the benefits we have working on standards like this and the application you mentioned is that we are still in just an infancy when it comes to IoT adoption. I talk a lot about that and the endless opportunity that is in front of us. But one of the things, maybe as a challenge for you, Kjetil, managing our portfolio of products, how does this complement or potentially compete with the other products we provide?
No, that's also a good question. And we sat there in a similar setting not too long ago about talking about Wi-Fi and the Holy Trinity. And here we are again talking about the fourth initiative for wireless. And there's so many standards, right? But I think it's all complement each other. They each have their benefits. And for DECT NR+, it solves some of the problems that the other technologies that we have can't, right? It's very complementary to cellular. Cellular is very good for a lot of the same application, but if you want to have that private ownership of the network and don't be dependent about the infrastructure or own your own infrastructure, it's a good alternative to a pure cellular kind of play. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth Low Energy and Thread and those have their kind of applications. It doesn't have the same scalability. So it's all about finding the right technology for the right type of applications. And usually it's not a one technology fits all. You actually have to have a portfolio, and DECT NR+ is a very good complement to our other offering.
Do you envision that there will be devices from Nordic that combines different technologies with NR+?
I think if you follow Nordic, you will see that that's some of the things that we are good at is combining our technology. So obviously the path there where you go. I mean, these devices also need to be on board on a network, and the Bluetooth Low Energy could be a perfect technology to sit next to this. There will be products out there we're already talking about that bridges from a DECT NR+ to a cellular world, right? So there will be gateways type of application, or it could be Wi-Fi backhaul. So it's natural to see that Nordic will combine some of these technologies also going forward. So to wrap this up, Svein-Egil, what do you think is the most important thing now going forward?
Well, I think one of the very important things is that the standard and everything around that gets defined properly, tested, verified, and become that robust standard we want to see forward. And of course, we're putting a lot of effort into that right now. And then we need to complement it from Nordic side. We need to complement that with some great products. Of course, right now it's in an organization. It's just, take your shirts up and get going. It's hard work, but we're on a good path. And I think this will be. I'm very optimistic that this will be very successful products.
Thank you for that.